All right, welcome back to Talk Tickers. Today, we're digging into a really wild one, Micron. This stock took an absolute nosedive into the close, only to just skyrocket after hours. So what happened? We're going to break down exactly what caused that whiplash.
So just look at these numbers. A 3% drop, then an 8% surge. That is a massive 11-point swing in just over an hour. So what was hiding in that report? What was the catalyst that completely flipped the script? Well, let's get into it. Okay, so here's how we're going to tackle this. First, we'll hit the headline beat. Then we'll get into the real driver, which, spoiler alert, is AI. After that, the blowout guidance. This is the big one. We'll touch on supply and demand, and then finally, I'll give you our take, the next call. All right, first up, the headline numbers. And let me tell you, Micron didn't just meet expectations. They absolutely crushed them. It was a clean sweep, really setting a bullish tone right from the get-go. So let's start with the bottom line, earnings per share. Now, this is the non-GAAP number, which basically strips out some of the one-off accounting stuff. It came in at $4.78. That is a huge beat, 82 cents better than what the street was looking for. And, the good news did not stop there. The top line revenue hit a record $13.64 billion. Now, to put that into perspective, that's over $730 million more than analysts were predicting. That's not just a good quarter, folks. That is a statement. And this chart, this really shows you what's happening. A 56% jump in revenue compared to the same time last year, that is just incredible. We're not just seeing a recovery here. We are witnessing a fundamental shift in demand for their products. So you got to be asking, what is fueling this rocket ship, right? The answer, in 2 letters, AI. And look, this isn't just buzzword hype. It is the absolute core of their success story right now. The CEO, Sanjay Mehrotra, he said it perfectly. Memory isn't just some component anymore. It's essential to AI's cognitive functions. It's become a strategic asset. Now think about that. That changes everything for investors. It completely reframes the company from just a component maker to a critical enabler of the biggest tech trend on the entire planet. And this chart right here really breaks down where all that strength is coming from. See those 2 biggest slices? Cloud memory and core data center? You put those together, and that's well over half of their entire revenue. Folks, that is the AI boom in action. You're seeing these giant companies just building out their infrastructure like crazy. Okay, so the Q1 numbers were great, right? But believe it or not, that's not the whole story. The real reason this stock just went ballistic after hours was their forecast for the next quarter. This was the tell. This was the game changer. Okay, deep breaths. This is the slide that absolutely blew everyone away. Just look at the columns. We're going from what they just did in Q1 to what they think they're going to do in Q2. Look at that first row. Revenue is guided to jump by over $5 billion in a single quarter. Then you see earnings, basically expected to double. And that third row, well, that gross margin number is just wow. Yeah, let's just park on that number for a second. 68%. That's their projected non-GAAP gross margin. Basically, it's how much profit they make on every single sale. For a hardware company to post a number that high, it's almost unheard of. It just screams pricing power. It means everyone needs what they're selling, and there simply isn't enough to go around. So how can they be so confident, right? How can they put out a number like that? Well, it all comes down to simple economics, supply and demand. Everybody wants what they have, and Micron is in the perfect position to cash in on that scarcity. And management was incredibly clear about this on the call. They basically said they cannot make this stuff fast enough. Their entire 2026 supply of HBM, that's the super fast, premium memory that AI servers absolutely need to function, it's already sold out, locked in on price and volume. They're spending a fortune, nearly $20 billion in CapEx, just to try and build more capacity. And the overall market for this stuff, it's growing way faster than anyone ever expected. This is a classic supply supercycle, plain and simple. Okay, so we've seen the incredible results. We've seen the even better forecast. So now we get to the big question. What does this all mean for the stock going forward? So let's just wrap up the bull case here. It's pretty straightforward. 1, a record quarter. They're executing flawlessly. 2, that higher forward guide. It signals a massive, massive acceleration in their earnings power. And 3, the AI tailwinds. This supply crunch for HBM and DRAM is giving them pricing power and visibility like we haven't seen in years.
So when you put all of that together, the conclusion for us is pretty clear. We're initiating with an outperform rating on Micron. We think this story is really just getting started.
Hey, it looks like we're not the only ones thinking this. Wall Street is already jumping on board. We saw analysts like Needham come out immediately after the call and slap a $300 price target on the stock. So the story is compelling, right? But the next question is, how do you actually position for it? Let's talk about a potential trade. So one idea here, one way to play this, is to bet that the good news isn't over. You could look at long calls, which, are basically a bet that the stock is going to rise past a certain price by a certain date. You could target a move above $300 after their next report comes out. The core thesis here is that as amazing as their forecast was, it's possible they might still be lowballing it, given just how insane the demand is for their products. So that really leaves us with the big question, doesn't it? After a quarter and a guide this strong, how much more good news can possibly be left? Is the best case scenario already priced in, or is this really just the first inning of a multi-year AI supercycle for memory? We'd love to hear what you think. And as always, please remember, this is not financial advice.